Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to this video, guys. My name is Liaquat. If you are unfamiliar with my YouTube channel, check it out. It's called Roots of Knowledge, ROK Rock. I make videos on all types of topics. Specifically, the channel is designed for giving free content to all of you guys out there. So if there's anyone out there who is interested, subscribe, hit the like button, and also hit the bell button. That also helps the channel a lot as well. Anyway, we are going through Kanz al-Daqaiq. Kanz al-Daqaiq is a well-known classical Hanafi text. The problem is that the text is a bit condensed, so students find it quite difficult to be able to navigate through what he's actually saying. So I have started this series, and check it out from the beginning if it's your first time here. So he says, وَصَحَّ عَقْدُ الْأَعْمَى وَيَسْقُطُ خِيَارُهُ إِذَا اشْتَرَى بِجَصِّ الْمَبِيعِ. So he says, a blind person, if there is a person who is blind, is his transaction valid or not? So we said, according to the Hanafis, the transaction is based upon مُبَادَلَةُ الْمَالِ بِالْمَالِ بِالتَّرَاضِ, exchanging of wealth for wealth, as long as both parties give consent, are happy. So in other words, irrespective of whether a person can see or not see, or hear or not hear, as long as a person is considered to be someone who is able to do a transaction and he is giving his consent, happy with this taradi, that transaction is considered to be permissible. Our question here now that we raise is that how does the Khiyar al-Ruya work with a blind person? So a person who's blind, who can't see, the idea of Khiyar Ruya is you're happy with the item that you have purchased. Now, if you purchase something and you're blind, you're not able to see it. So therefore, does that mean that the khiyar remains all the way until now he can see? And the answer to that is no. Right? So the reason being is because firstly, this would become extremely difficult for sellers. So for instance, let's say someone is unable to see, and then 10 years later is now able to see. So now this is obviously going to cause problems for the person who sold it, because now 10 years later that person wants to return it, finding the seller and all that kind of stuff. So he says, صَحَّ عَقْدُ الْأَعْمَى, the aqd, the transaction of the blind person is considered to be valid. وَيَسْقُطُ خِيَارُهُ, and his khiyar will actually drop. إِذَا اشْتَرَى, when he purchases something that he can touch. So now, if we look at the things that we have bought in the past year, some of those things are going to be things which we can actually buy because of the feel of them. So for example, like if you've ever bought a mattress, you most likely bought the mattress not because of how it looks, but because of how it feels. Or for example, like there might be some clothes that you bought, or some shoes, or anything of that sort, sofas, carpet, because it's how it feels that really was the factor for which you purchased it. So if the item is an item which is generally bought by its feel, then the blind person doesn't have a problem in that area. So that's why the blind person's khiyar ru'ya would actually drop if he was simply able to feel it. And this goes for everyone. So a person buys a mattress, it's about the feel, so he's able to feel the mattress, and therefore his khiyar ru'ya drops. This is why khiyar al-ru'ya, some people translate this as the option of inspection. And inspection can be done with the eyes, and it can be done with the, other senses as well. And this is also something which means that khiyar ru'ya is not limited to the eyes only. So if the blind person is someone who's able to see, not able to see, but is able to touch, then therefore if he purchases something that can be detected by simply touching it, his khiyar ru'ya now is no longer there. Secondly, if he purchases something which can be smelt, right, which can be detected through the scent, shammuhu, for instance, like a candle, purchases a candle from the shop, smells it, the khiyar ru'ya drops. Or for example, like he buys, let's say for instance, like some perfume, or anything of that sort, which is predominantly purchased for the smell, then that person's khiyar ru'ya will actually drop as soon as he is able to smell and is happy with the smell of the item. So, sight doesn't really make a difference in these issues. Thirdly, ذوقه. So if he's بذوقه, if he's able to taste the item. So this goes for food, this goes for desserts, this goes for drinks, all of these things that people purchase due to the taste. So if this blind person purchases food and tastes it and is not happy with it, he can return it because it wasn't the food that he expected. And if he purchases the food and he tastes it and he is happy with it, then in that case he will have the khiyar al-ru'ya. But clearly there is no ru'ya over here. It would be khiyar al-dhawq, you can say. So the taste over here. Now, just on a side note, sometimes what tends to happen is you might purchase something and the item that you purchased is for the taste, okay? However, when you purchase that item, you don't just want the taste, you want the appearance as well. Presentation is a very important factor as well. So this can happen sometimes as well, where maybe you've got an event, you're hiring some caterers, and you're paying for the food, and the food has to be presented in a particular manner. So this is also something that can be taken into consideration. So dhawquhu, his taste, and so therefore the blind person is not deficient in his taste and smell and his touch. The only issue that he has is the sight. So okay, so let's say he's buying something which is like a piece of land. So property, piece of land. How does the blind person now deal with this? How does he buy a plot of land? So plot of land is usually not something that you can touch or smell or taste and then kind of figure out if you need it or not. Plot of land requires obviously sight, visible sort of detection is a very important thing. So here he says وَفِي الْأَقَارِ بِوَصْفِهِ. So if a person is planning to buy a land or has purchased the land or a property, then clearly he needs to see it. How do we overcome this with the blind person? So with the blind person, what we say is that someone describes to him. So you get someone and he says to him, right, can you describe to me this property? This is something that usually happens in today's times when a person is going to buy something from an estate agent. The estate agent actually describes in a lot of detail of what the person is in fact buying. So they'll have the dimensions of the room, they'll have the height, they'll have the furniture inside of it or lack of furniture, the garden, the walls, all these things will actually be documented and they'll actually explain it to that person. So this is why now in many cases we won't really have a problem, for example like in the UK with this. So as long as the blind person has someone who can describe to him what he sees, you're describing to the blind person, right, it's a house, this is how tall it is, this is the windows are like, then that would be sufficient for khiyar ru'ya to drop. Now this is one opinion. Another opinion that's reported from Imam Abu Yusuf rahimahullah ta'ala is that the blind person simply stands at a distance, looks at the property as though he can see it, and then the khiyar ru'ya drops. Now this opinion, although this is not in the Zahir Riwayah, this is in Ghair Zahir Riwayah, this is an opinion which might seem a bit trivial. How a blind person can't see, what's the point of him just acting out as though he can see? Well, it all goes down to the issue of how things can pan out in the future. So if there is a blind person, in order for us to be able to give him the right, he deserves the right of khiyar ru'ya, but he can't see, he won't be able to see. So just to kind of fulfill that formality in the courts, what we say to him is, right, just to fulfill this formality, can you please do this? So just look at the property. And it's simply there as a formality so that in the courts we recognize that this person has been given the right and the right has been fulfilled. Now there are some examples of these kind of things in our fiqh as well. So for example, like when it comes to the masala of hajj or umrah, a person goes for hajj and umrah and let's say they've done one umrah, they've shaved their head, and then they've done another one immediately after that, but they've got no hair to shave. So in this case, what do? So in this case, the fuqaha say they simply have to pass a blade over the shaved head. So passing a blade over the shave, even though nothing gets cut, this would be sufficient because this is what falls under tashabbuh bil muhrimin or tashabbuh bil haji, etc. So this idea is also something found in our fiqh, where we try to resemble something else. Although the two examples are different, I mean, one is to do with Hajj, which is a ritual, and the other one is to do more with mu'amalat, dealings in society, and court rulings. There is some sort of element of overlap between the two. So anyway, so it's described to him according to the Zahir Riwayah. وَمَنْ رَأَى, next masla. وَمَنْ رَأَى أَحَدَ الثَّوْبَيْنِ, whoever buys two cloths that come together. Right, so sometimes you buy a suit. Trousers come with it, shirt comes with it, jacket comes with it, maybe blazer comes with it, a waistcoat, tie. So you buy something that has multiple sort of garments, but you bought them in one sort of like agreement deal. On the receipt it's one price, but you've only managed to see, so you bought it on Monday, you took it home, it's boxed, and you only managed to see the shirt. That's all you saw, you didn't see anything else. So if a person sees just the shirt, man ra'a ahad al-thawbayn, whoever sees one of the two pieces of clothing, fashtarahuma. So okay, so let's rewind a bit back. So Monday you've gone to the shop, the guy's selling these packs of clothing, very, very good offer, deal, and you just got to see the shirt, you haven't purchased it yet, and then you look at the shirt and you're happy with it, and so you give the money and you purchase it. So now what happens is that when you go home on Wednesday, you decide to look at everything else. So now, has your khiyar dropped simply because you had seen it on Monday and you were happy with the shirt, only shirt? The shirt is only, one of the two items. So does that mean by seeing one of the items, your khiyar drops from the others? The ruling is, and the answer is no. So whoever sees out of the two cloths that they have purchased in one contract, only one of them, then they still have the right to purchase the other, they still have the right of khiyar ru'ya of the second. So man ra'a ahad al-thawbayn, whoever sees one of the two pieces of cloth, fashtarahuma, and then purchases both of them in one contract. Now notice, this is in one contract. If it's in two contracts, shirt separately on the receipt, and the jacket or the trousers separately on the receipt, that's a separate masla. That is, each individual item of clothing has its own khiyar. So if a person buys his two pieces of cloth, فَاشْتَرَاهُمَا ثُمَّ رَأَى الْآخَرِ, then he goes home on Wednesday and then he sees the others, له ثُمَّ رَأَى الْآخَرِ لَهُ رَدُّهُمَا, he has the right to return both of them. Right? He has the right to return both of them. Why does he have the right to return both of them? Simply because the idea of khiyar ru'ya is for fair trade. So there is some sort of ability that each party has the ability to be able to, give their consent if they're happy with it. In this scenario, the only way that the person can be happy is if they purchase both items and have seen both items, because both of the items are considered to be different. Now usually when it mentions thobes are going to be something which are non-fungible items. Okay, so they're going to be non-fungible and they're going to be two separate items, and that's why it's considered to be khiyar ru'ya. As opposed to if a person was to buy, let's say, a sack of wheat, and they simply just picked up a handful of wheat, looked at a sample, right? There the khiyar ru'ya would drop from the rest of the wheat. Just like we said, if you remember last lesson, we mentioned about the wajhu subra and the wajhu, ama, and all those other things. We said it's sufficient just to look at partial, right? That's if it's considered all to be homogeneous. If all of the item that you're purchasing is homogeneous, that's fine. But if it's heterogeneous, if there's two different items, then you will have khiyar ru'ya for each one. So if you bought 5 items, heterogeneous, all different, but you bought them all in one contract, then by seeing simply one, it does not suffice for seeing the rest. Does that make sense? Well, that's what basically he's saying. Okay, then he says, وَلَا يُورَثُ كَخِيَارَ الشَّرْطِ وَلَا يُورَثُ كَخِيَارَ الشَّرْطِ. This is the last masala I'm going to explain. So the question comes is, if for example, like I am the seller, you're the customer, on Monday you came to my shop, you bought a laptop boxed inside of a box, you went home and unfortunately you died. Your heirs who inherit from you, they found the box, they opened the box, it was a laptop, they were not happy with it, right? They didn't like it. Now, can they still use your khiyar ru'ya? So the ruling is no. لا يورث, it is not inherited, just like a khiyar al-shart. So if you remember, we talked about khiyar al-shart, and over there we said khiyar al-shart is not transferred to the heirs, because this is a haqq, and that haqq is specific to that particular individual. So huquq are not inherited per se. We said the only thing that is inherited, which is not technically inherited, is the khiyar al-aib and the khiyar al-ta'yin. These are two khiyars that are inherited, not because these are haqqs, but simply because these involve the item to be sound. Aib requires the item to be sound, which is everyone's haqq, and ta'yin requires there to be a distinction between who owns what. So anyway, we'll finish there. So today we discussed about the issue of the blind person. How do we overcome the problems of a blind person, and how does khiyar ru'ya work? And we also discussed regarding selling of two items in one deal, one contract, one item on the receipt. And we also mentioned about can inheritance, can khiyar al-ru'ya be inherited or not. So I hope you guys enjoyed these lessons. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, and inshallah I will see you guys next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khair, guys, for all of your support. Without your support, I wouldn't have been able to produce the videos that I've put up on my YouTube channel. And there is so much more that I really want to do. And without the support of you guys who are patrons, generously supporting this channel, I've been able to get myself a camera, which, as you guys can see, the quality of this camera, mic system, software. I've been able to hire an editor. So what do I want to do? I want to make lots and lots and lots of more videos for beginners, for intermediate, advanced, in the subjects like Arabic and fiqh and hadith and tafsir and aqidah and all those other things as well. And for this to happen, again, this channel needs support. So if you guys want to become patrons and support this channel, then check out the link below. Also, if you do become patrons, you'll have access to videos that I don't put up on my normal YouTube channel. So check that out, inshallah. And there's most other perks as well that you guys can benefit from. And if you want to access this channel through social media, we've got Twitter, we've got Instagram, Facebook page, and other things as well that you can visit. So jazakumullah khair again, guys. Thank you very much for your support. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khair for watching this video. I hope to see all of you guys. If you guys are interested, please leave us feedback, get in contact with us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.